Hey, everybody. Welcome into the New England Ski Journal Basecamp podcast, sponsored by Country Ski and Sport. I'm Mike Spiecian, your host, with my co-host,
Keith Pearson.
Dude, we've had some snow.
I don't want to hear it.
We've had some snow.
I don't want to talk about it. It has conspired against me.
Why?
Timing.
You know what? Do you need a doctor's note? Because I write them.
No, it was just one of those things. I was at Killington for World Cup on Sunday, and I was supposed to ski Monday, but things came up, and no, I didn't. I was supposed to ski Killington Monday, Loon Tuesday for opening day, and just wasn't able to. But I did see you on Monday night at the Ski New Hampshire thing.
Yeah, we were at the
Mac.
big event at McIntyre in beautiful Manchester, New Hampshire. That was a great event.
They did a nice job with that. It was my first time at their event, and it was nice to be able to see Mac get the snow guns going for it, kind of put everybody in the mood, and kind of touch base with everybody in the business. I
ran into Tim Smith on a lift, of course, at Waterville, the general manager there, and we actually talked about how great it was at McIntyre, with the cannons blowing, with snow piling up, because you pile the snow up, you don't move it all yet, because if you get that R word, it doesn't erode it. But the event was awesome. 2 years ago, it was at McIntyre also. And I was there, and it was a different situation because we were in rough shape at that point. All of New Hampshire.
Right, the industry.
The industry, right. We just didn't have the weather. This year, everybody was pretty stoked.
Yeah, it was definitely a positive, upbeat experience. The head of tourism said it's $1.6 billion industry for the state. Just when you hear that number and it's like, whoa, it's a big deal because you know what you put into it, but hearing what the whole collective is and what it means to that state, and it is just as important to Vermont, and it's just as important to Maine, just how important the industry is.
It kills me because I live in New Hampshire. When somebody says, oh, I don't want snow, I don't want weather, our economy is based on that weather, whether it be skiing, snowmobiling, plow drivers. It's dependent on it.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, just like the summer. You might not like the heat, but that's what people come to the lakes, they come to the beach. We have 4 seasons, and we have to embrace all of them because that's what brings people here as opposed to staying in their own backyard.
Well, I think the other thing that's cool about New Hampshire is that Annie Custer, who was leaving Congress, she got the Lifetime Award. Lifetime skiing at any New Hampshire resort. How bad is that? But Andy has a long history in supporting the ski industry on the national level. Kelly Ayotte, our new governor, is also a skier and gives huge support. I guess what I'm getting at is that Republicans, Democrats, they all come together when we talk about skiing and how important it is to our economy.
We definitely saw that on display that night, with Bradley also receiving Jeb, right?
Jeb Bradley, who is in our Senate, leaving the Senate, and Governor Sununu was there also, of course, but he has a little vested interest in Waterville.
Only a little.
But it was great. Hey, did I see you won something?
I did. I took home a computer bag, which was nice.
I should have put my business card in.
There you go. It's paid for itself.
Well, the skiing has been really, really good. We started slow. We didn't have the weather, but then we got that cold spurt. Lots of snowmaking and natural to throw in. I can tell you, I was at Waterville and skied. I've been out a couple days, but skied 20,000 vertical feet yesterday. Just quick hit, logging miles. It felt great. The snow was great. Got to see the people I wanted to see. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Just timing wise for me, it has me bumming because of course the next day that I have available is tomorrow, which is rain. The rain day. C'est la vie.
No, the R word.
Yes.
Just leave it.
Yeah.
It builds
Bleep
great.
it-
It builds
bleep it
great
out.
bases, right?
David, bleep that one out.
Gotcha, kid.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely don't want that whole R word in there.
Well, no, we don't. We don't want the R word, but we're also this isn't going till Friday.
Yeah.
So, well, there's some exciting stuff coming up here in January. We just came out of the Killington World Cup. We have another World Cup event coming back to New England and New Hampshire for the second time.
Yeah, freestyle back at Waterville.
Freestyle. I mean, bump skiing. Bump skiing, when we think of bump skiing, we think of white heat. We think of outer limits. But there's this little spot in New Hampshire that is pretty renowned for it.
Lower Bobbies.
Lower Bobbies.
It should be interesting. I mean, I didn't get a chance to go up to last year's event, but how can you not enjoy having the best in the world at what they do? And this is an important year considering we're going to be closing in on a year away from the Cortina Olympics.
Yeah, this is really, really cool because this is going to give us a preview here in New England of who's going to be representing us in a
Correct.
year. It's going to be awesome. Well, we have a pretty renowned female skier, bump skier, coming on today.
Yeah, Hannah Kearney, Vermont native. She might have gone out west now, but we won't hold that against her. 2010 gold medalist in Vancouver, so not American soil, but not very far away from it.
North American
Exactly.
soil.
It's what, an hour and a half from Seattle, right?
I got news for you. It's like going to Owl's Head or Sutton. They're just over the border.
Exactly.
I mean, this is going to be exciting. Hannah, great representation. She grew up skiing at Waterville, so she understands the run. She understands the climate of Waterville, and it's going to be exciting talking to Hannah.
Yeah, hopefully she'll provide some insight on what we can expect that weekend up at WV.
You got it. So we'll be right back after this with Hannah Kearney, U.S. gold medalist. The Button Ski Hanger is a patented ski storage fixture that safely stores alpine skis regardless of length, width, or shape. This means that your fat powder skis can now be stored next to your narrower carving skis, your race skis, and your kid skis. For more information, visit their website, buttonskirack.com. The Button Ski Hanger is also available for purchase at amazon.com. So make your purchase today. The Button Ski Hanger is simply better for your skis. Welcome back, everybody, into the Basecamp podcast. Now joining us from Park City, Utah, a three-time Olympian, four-time overall World Cup champion, Hannah Kearney, originally from Norwich, Vermont, correct?
That is accurate. I know it feels really strange to hear Utah affiliated with my name. I'm a New Englander through and through.
Well, where you're sitting right now, Hannah, you're in Utah, and I'll tell you, the snow's been pretty good out here in New England. You're missing it.
Oh, trust me, I follow all the ski areas on social media, so I'm watching everyone get face shots at Jay Peak. Well, I mean, it's cold and sunny here, so no complaints, but not good natural snow.
Well, we had Steve Wright on very recently, and they were getting dumped while he was on the podcast, and I'm going, we all need to get up there. I want to introduce you to Keith Pearson, the new editor of New England Ski Journal.
Thanks for joining us, Hannah.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Hannah, why don't you give us a little background about how you where you're from, your upbringing, how in the world you got into mogul skiing.
Yeah, it's a long story. How much time do you have? The unique thing about skiing is that you started probably younger than any other sport. And it was a family activity for us. So growing up in Norwich, Vermont, we know that New England winters are pretty long and dark, and there's not a lot of activities to do, but skiing is something you can do as a family. And so my parents taught my younger brother and I to ski from a really young age. I do not even remember learning how to ski. And this was both at Dartmouth Skiway, Burke Mountain, Jay Peak, because we had a cabin there without electricity or running water. So ski the mountains of New England. And I learned how to ski by my mom and dad putting my body in a horse halter. We had a draft horse named Sequoia, and she had a big head that was the same size as my little body. And that's how I learned how to ski. And how I actually turned into a mogul skier is actually more of a freestyle story. And it was back when freestyle was moguls, aerials, and ballet skiing. And it was offered as an after-school program at the Dartmouth Skiway Wednesday afternoons from, I think, like 2:30 to 4. So pretty small exposure there. But I signed up with my mom when I was in first grade, and I was hooked right away. I loved the acrobatic components. I loved navigating the lack of bumps or bumps that we could find at the Dartmouth Skiway. And I just loved the freestyle friends and spirit.
That is awesome. I was laughing when I read about the horse halter. I was thinking, what would people say at, Stowe if they saw a child today with a horse halter on them?
They'd probably be surprised. But now they make all these gimmicks that are really just a way, the same idea. You just have to spend more money for it, like the dog leash thing. And as a new parent to a almost 1.5-year-old who's trying to teach her how to ski, I appreciate the horse halter. I think it might be work better than whatever I'm doing to my lower back.
Hey, it could be the after World Cup skiing business idea here.
I mean, let's
go with. I'm in if you want to market her. All about it. Well, you chose to go to Waterville Valley for training I believe for school also. Why did you end up there rather than Norwich is so close to Killington, which is a mecca for bump skiing? Why did you end up over at Waterville?
That's a great point. Yeah, I know, hard to beat outer limits at Killington. However, the short answer is ballet skiing. Because I was a combined skier at that point in time, Waterville Valley had a wonderful combined program where we did, who knows percentage-wise, but it seemed like we did a lot of ballet skiing. And again, it's because it's so accessible. You just need like a bunny hill, or you can practice pole flips right outside the lodge. So ballet skiing was important to me. It went on to become acro skiing. But I also jumped uprights at that point, lots of spread eagles and daffies, and then the mogul skiing. Whereas Killington exclusively had a mogul program. Now, of course, if I had had the foresight to realize that that was going to be my future, perhaps Killington would have been a better fit, but the Preston family and the reputation of the black and blue trail smashers at Waterville Valley preceded themselves, and it just made sense for me, and it became a perfect fit, and they became a second family to me.
Was the ballet something you did during the off season as well? Did you stick with it, on dry land, or was it just something on
I never actually took any ballet. I probably should have, because I don't have a lot of natural rhythm, let's say, but I will say it helped me with my flexibility and single leg balance, and even the spinning that became normal in the acrobatic maneuvers in mogul skiing, doing axles on little short skis and tall poles. For those people who are say, what the heck is ballet skiing? You did a routine to music on short skis, and those acrobatic maneuvers did eventually help my mogul skiing. So I was a full year-round sport athlete, opposite of year-round, sorry, seasonal sport athlete, where I skied, and then I put my skis away and I played soccer, and then I put my soccer cleats away and I ran track. And so through high school, and even once I was on the U.S. national team for skiing, I still competed in those other sports, but not dryland ballet.
All right, so let's go through the meat and potatoes of the career. 2 juniors, 4 U.S. skis, 4 overall worlds, 3 Olympic Games. How much did like when you look back on it, what stands out?
Oof. I mean, the Olympics, I look at it as like a lifelong career of skiing. 13 years on the national team is where I crammed in all of those, I guess, accolades, let's say. But the blood, sweat, and tears literally that went into achieving those results are what I remember. Or the silly things like spending Valentine's Day in Tokyo with my female teammates and eating ramen. Those are the memories I take away. So ramen and then crystal globes. Crystal globes being probably the hardest to accomplish, four of the giant ones, which if you're comparing it to alpine skiing would be the equivalent of winning, you're the best in all of the disciplines. So for us, it was a little bit arbitrary because you were competing against ski cross and aerials. So it became more of like who had the best record, but still really challenging to win those. And then 6 times I actually won the mogul only globe. And now they've changed it and there's a dual globe and a mogul, single mogul globe. So it's all very confusing to compare things, but I don't care. I have beautiful crystal globes that I had to schlep home from Europe with great pride. And someday I'll have a house where I can display them all in the back of all my Zoom calls. But right now, that is not the case. Good problem to have, though. Not enough shelf space for those. So, in other words, it is very difficult to pick. Winning Olympic gold, I suppose, as a child would be the thing that was like the hardest goal, or like the goal that I had set for the longest period of time and then eventually achieved. And honestly, the most amount of luck went into, because when something goes wrong, you have to wait 4 years for redemption and a chance to win that again. Whereas racking up World Cup titles, you get an opportunity almost every week in the winter to get another shot at the podium or to redeem yourself. And that Olympic weight, there's nothing quite like that.
Well, we've had a lot of New England girls and guys, but especially girls, in the Olympics going for gold. We all remember Pam at Calgary when Fletch couldn't run. But it's just amazing how the Waterville Valley Academy, the Stratton Mountain Academy, the CVA have produced, BMA, Burke Mountain, have produced such world-class athletes. I mean, it's crazy. Why don't you walk us through the Olympics? You were at 3 of them, right?
I competed at 3 Olympics.
Well,
In 2006, I was just a 19-year-old. I had graduated high school and kind of lost my dryland training, the soccer and the track that I spoke of earlier. But I was also the reigning world champion. So I sort of had the confidence that a 19-year-old world champion would have, and was like, I can just win the Olympic. It's the same judges on the same course. We had a test event the year before. I don't think I had done that well, but I had skied on the course, and assumed I could handle the pressure. But I didn't handle the pressure well. I sort of felt physically ill the majority of the time I was actually in Italy. And pressure is a funny thing because it's certainly a privilege. It exists because external people and factors are assuming you're going to do well, and then if you're an elite level athlete, typically you put quite a bit of pressure on yourself to perform your best. And so the combination of that, and then when an Olympic Games comes around, there's so much more attention, for better or for worse, from the media mostly, but family, long lost cousins and aunts and uncles are reaching out to wish you luck. All of it is well intentioned. Send offs from the grandstand in my hometown. Again, the most wonderful, positive things you could think about. That is the Olympic spirit and what makes the Olympics different, but it also adds pressure. And I had no practice. No one was sending me off or sending me messages for just a regular World Cup over in Europe in the years leading up to that. And so that, I think, I kind of internalized that because I was trying to just treat it like a regular World Cup, but then all these external things were happening around me in celebrations, and there was a conflict there, and it manifested as not feeling my best and therefore not performing my best. So in short, I got third to last place at that Olympics as the reigning world champion. So you can imagine that was a disappointment, but also a huge learning opportunity, because guess what? Life goes on. And I mean, I felt like my world was like crashing around me. I felt like I was going to have no friends. My hometown was going to be embarrassed. My parents weren't going to love me. I'm being dramatic, obviously, but it just felt like it was over. It felt awful. Just cried until I had no tears left in my body. But life went on, and no one was actually embarrassed by my performance, and it was okay. I actually got hurt the the following season. But there were definitely some times I was like, should I even be skiing? I mean, like I did terribly. My other friends were in college. That kind of looks like fun. Sort of what was it? What am I doing? I was lost as a 19-year-old who had just failed at her first Olympics, might be. And I'll take a breath here, but that was my first Olympic experience.
Well, with that being said, okay, you had those experiences in Torino. When you went to Vancouver, was that in the back of your mind? How did you parlay that experience into being on the podium at the top in Vancouver?
It was not only in the back of my mind, it was at the front of my mind. In the sense that I did everything the opposite. I was like, well, so the nice thing about getting third to last and then having life go on is that you're like, well, it can't really get any worse than that. What? Oh, last, that's going to be worse? No, that would be just as terrible. So it kind of took the pressure off, which is weird. But all of a sudden, I felt like it was going to be fine no matter what. And I was like, I'm going to at least have a good experience this time. I'm going to have fun. That is what freestyle is all about anyway, and that's why I got into this sport. So I'm going to have fun. And I, instead of trying to treat it like a World Cup, which it is not, even though it is, for all the reasons I said, I did the opposite. So I packed like only red, white, and blue clothing, and I just decided to be like full on Team USA, rah Olympics, which is what makes it different. And that helped. I was also wearing the number 3 bib, meaning I was ranked 3rd in the world. So there's a little pressure off there. You're not number 1, which we can fast forward 4 years where I was wearing bib number 1. There's a whole different kind of pressure. And so even in the start gate, it was pouring rain too. So like I said, luck played a role in the Olympic success. Pouring rain, I just was like, this is good for me as a New England skier. Rain is not going to bother me. And it's certainly going to bother other athletes because you wait 4 years or sometimes a lifetime if it's your first Olympic experience, and then there's pouring rain on the day of your event. Like, that's not great. That's not what you dreamed of. That's not what you visualized when the national anthem's playing. And yet that we're also used to being outdoor athletes. When Mother Nature always wins, she gets her way. We don't get to change her. And so that kind of gave me this extra confidence, and everything just fell into place on that day. And it was truly redemption, more so than ever in that moment. At least it was redemption for skiing the run that I knew I was capable of. Maybe not the best run of my career, but a very good run in the minute second it counted. In mogul skiing, it's not a best of situation. It's you have to perform that run or it's over. One mistake and your chances of a medal are gone. And so the fact that I did that, whereas 4 years before I had made way too many mistakes, it felt so satisfying to cross that finish line before I even knew the score.
How do you recall the podium and hearing the anthem go up and the whole medal ceremony? What sticks out the most from that?
The emotion that isn't there when you cross the finish line. So the medal ceremony was actually a whole day later. So you've had 24 hours to process everything, and you've gotten your hair and makeup done, and you're wearing the official medals uniform, and you're in the giant stadium where they're having concerts every night. So there were like thousands of people in there for, I think, a Nelly Furtado concert that night. And they do all the medals from the day before, or even that day. My event was so late that it was the next day. And one of my 2 kind of main memories, I'll just walk you through the whole experience. So crossing the finish line was athletic performance redemption. And then, of course, celebration with my family. But the medal ceremony the next day is what you see on TV as a kid and say, I want to win a medal for my country and for myself. That was the moment that you actually get to like reflect on being the little kid who feels that way, and then hearing the national anthem. Because of that experience, like I can't hear it now without getting tears in my eyes. I can probably barely talk about it without getting tears in my eyes, because that experience was like the culmination of everything I had worked for. And like that's the moment that like you actually become a gold medalist versus earning the title the day before, if that makes sense. And so being in the stadium, 2 things happened that were very cool. I got to watch my male teammates. So the unfortunate thing about being successful is that I didn't get to go to men's moguls, which was the next day. And these are my teammates that we had trained and competed with for the World Cup Tour. So I had to do fun experiences on the Today Show and interviews and go and collect my gold medal. Oh, sorry, boys. So I didn't get to go support them. But when I was backstage about to get my medal, they were showing the footage of the moguls competition happening. So being backstage with the other female mogul skiers who had earned medals. Watching the men compete was really fun. And then it would have been cool if the Americans won a gold medal. But the second coolest thing that could have happened was that Canada won a gold medal. And they had never won a gold medal on home soil in previously hosted Olympics, being Calgary and Montreal. So that history was made, and they made the announcement over the loudspeaker when I was backstage, and the stadium erupted. So that was a very cool moment that had nothing to do with my event, but was Alexandre Bilodeau won a gold medal for Canada in mogul skiing for Canada, for his country, and they announced it, and it was pretty palpable energy in that room that I probably will never experience again.
That's incredible.
After you move on from Vancouver, and then you get into that 10-11 season, and you won 16 in a row. How do you do that? How are you locked in like that tightly?
It is most certainly something that that would never have been a goal I set going forward. It's very much a result of trying to just constantly make improvements each competition. And proof of that is that I did not know that I had a streak going on. In fact, I almost took a year off because we don't have, or at least we didn't back then, we didn't have 16 competitions in a season. So that streak actually lasted through 2 seasons. And I did not know at the end of that season A, let's call it, that I was on a streak. I know that sounds insane, but I'll explain more. So I almost took a year off I was going to go to Dartmouth, start my education, and just take that like mental and physical breaks, so that I was refreshed going into Sochi a few years later, because I was planning to stick around that long. And mogul skiing is tough on your body, and the travel is tiring. And I knew that after Torino, I'd had a knee injury and I'd taken time away, it had really benefited me. So that was my thought process. There was a World Championships that year where I did not win. In singles day, I think I got bronze or silver, and duels day, I also got bronze or silver. I did not win. And so in my mind, there was no streak happening. So the streak is technically World Cups. World Championships apparently doesn't count in this streak. And so I did not know until the next year. Maybe we're up, like starting off with like win 9, and then the countdown started, or the count up, whatever you want to call it. Then I became very, very aware of it. And the only way I could handle it was just watch whatever happened in that victory in 1 week. I would just analyze my performance and say, how do I do it better? And that was the only way I was to stay at the top of my game. I think the only other way that you can really go on a streak in a judge sport, some luck for sure. There were some format changes over my career that helped me. So there were things called super finals. So now only the top 6 from the final run go on for this medal round, and only those 6. So you could make a little mistakes. It's only 6 of you competing for the 3 medals. So like little boring details like that make a difference in continuing a streak. But I guess it is just like oh yeah. And then one other thing is that you have to be in like your peak physical and mental prime to be able to still make errors, because you have to assume in 16 competitions there are going to be some mistakes. You either need to make them in the qualifying runs or minimize them. And I had elevated my level of skiing through really precise strategic training to make my weaknesses less of a weakness. That my level of skiing was like, it was at its highest during that period of time. So not to sound overly confident, but I was able to make small mistakes and still beat up on my teammates, my competitors. For the most part, they'd give me the advantage. And so that's my story of how that streak existed. But it's something I'm certainly incredibly proud of, because it also, I stayed healthy. You simply cannot win if you're not healthy. And I had trained really hard to be strong and injury-free during that time.
Well, it just came to me, okay? You grew up in Norwich, which is, the Connecticut River Valley, and Dartmouth and so on. So Ingemar Stenmark, by far one of the great skiers of all time. You took over one of his records. Another young lady from that region, because I'm going to say her dad was at Dartmouth, Michaela, also. So there must be something in the water along that Connecticut River Valley, because there's some great skiing there.
There really, really is. I mean, there's a lot of things, right? The access to the Dartmouth Skiway. It's not like they didn't have night skiing, but this after school program, the fact that it was kind of built into the culture makes a difference. And then in Norwich specifically, we have such a rich history of Olympians that it sets this precedent that like is sort of not expected, but that it's attainable. So growing up, I was like, oh yeah, in fifth grade, I'd played the trumpet, played the national anthem on my trumpet to send off. I think at that point it was Tim Tatro to the 1998 Olympics. And so I'm like, oh yeah, just every 4 years someone from Norwich goes to the Olympics. Might as well be me. It just seemed really normal, and that norm helps make it something that's not overwhelming to accomplish.
You just mentioned something about the toll that World Cup takes on you, mogul skiing, travel, everything else. Michaela Schifrin, coming out of Killington, made very similar comments about the scheduling. I guess you feel the same as she does, even though it's gotten even more intense now.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten more intense. I'm guessing the airplane seats Michaela's sitting on are a little more comfortable than the ones I was sitting on. I'm just saying. But as you get older, and ironically, if you've stayed healthy, then you're doing it more and more and more because injuries are breaks from that.
Sure.
So sometimes those are almost necessary, and you have to. I chose to, anytime you're injured, be like, well, my body needed a break from this. But it is challenging. I mean, I will say that for us, we would go to Asia as well in a season, and I don't think the Alpine teams typically go to Asia. So the travel, I mean, I distinctly remember sitting on a tarmac for close to 17 hours before an airplane took off because the airport shut down while we were on the plane, and then the flight took off sorry, it was only 6 hours that sat on the tarmac, 6 or 7 hours we sat on the tarmac before a 17-hour flight to China. We land in China, get in at 2 a.m., and then you got to do a backflip in the morning. Literally after landing at 2 a.m., after that sort of travel day. It's like, yes, that takes a toll on your body. You most certainly could break your neck, blow out your knee. If you're I fell asleep after breakfast that day 2 times before I got out to the mogul course to train. And like, this isn't sustainable. And yes, that was like the horrible, everything went wrong on that travel day. But if you travel enough, everything is going to go wrong. You don't want it to happen all in one day, but travel
Sure.
itself is
Hmm.
exhausting. And when you're supposed to, be doing backflips or traveling at speeds that Michaela and the Alpine racers are traveling at, yes, bad things can happen and it can absolutely take a toll.
I've got to ask you something. We have had an awful lot of great mogul skiers on this podcast, friends of mine, acquaintances, and so on. Wayne Wong, Ten Toe Ferry, the original event at Waterville, Mike Hatrip, Glenn Plake, Lynn Weiland, and of course Donna Weinbeck. How have those players that came in front of you influenced your skiing?
Well, it's hard to talk about mogul skiing as a young girl and not mention Donna. I mean, winning the first gold medal for our sport. And although I was young, I remember it and thought it was pretty awesome. I had the VHS recording that I would rewatch. And the other thing that made a difference, one name that wasn't mentioned, was Liz McIntyre, and
Oh, yes.
she won a silver medal 2 years later. That was during the, when they got that bonus Olympics in there to stagger summer and winter, which was fun for being a spectator and, of course, being an athlete too. But Liz was from Lyme, New Hampshire, so right next door to where I grew up. So I actually walked in a parade to welcome her home. So again, it's sort of that attainability, that example being set, I think, that helped as a kid growing up in that area. It's like, oh, you can be from here and go win a medal in this sport and come home. And I did the same thing. And for sure, part of that is because people paving the way and setting the example before you. And mogul skiing has changed a lot since then. Some people complain about certain things that are different now. It's just the freestyle skiing as a younger sport, even though now it has been around a while, it changes. And like, I've chosen to embrace those changes. I do some commentary now, and it is so different than when Donna and Liz were skiing and even when I was skiing, but it's also fun to see what the athletes are doing now, such as four rotations in a backflip that was
Mhm.
not something I was capable of. So it changes, and it's fun to watch. And, hopefully I got to be a Donna Weinbrecht for some little girl out there.
Awesome.
You've got pretty big honor coming up at the end of March up in Lake Placid when you go into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. What was getting that call like, and what's it like to have so much New England representation in that building?
It's pretty cool to be part of a class where there is great New England representation. And to me, the fact that it's in Lake Placid, which is just a coincidence, but is so fitting because I lived in Lake Placid each summer at the end of my career to work on my jumps. Lived at the Olympic Training Center there, became friends with the Lucy family. My dog lived at their house, so I could go visit her in between my doing a minimum of 1,000 water ramp jumps every summer, which was some arbitrary goal I set for myself. So Lake Placid is an important spot to me. And I know New York is not technically New England. I don't want to be called out on that, but it's, the proximity makes it so that my friends and family will be able to drive over easily. The call came from Donna Weinbrecht, who we just spoke of. She was part of that committee, and then the head coach of the Moguls team during most of my career, Scott Rawls, and Liz McIntyre. So Donna, Liz, and Scott Rawls were all on the call, which as soon as all three of them were on the call, I was like, what is going on? I was shocked. And it's a huge honor. I know it is just a title and a ceremony, but it's pretty cool to be acknowledged in an industry that you gave your life to, or you're the best years of your life to. And I'm just excited to have a reason to celebrate. And I promised some of my friends that seems like there were a lot. My dad threw a lot of retirement parties. My family threw a lot of retirement parties for me, and then got married and had a kid all in a short period of time. So I feel like there's been a lot of Hannah celebrations recently, and I assured them this is the last one until my funeral.
Or the next child, one or the other.
No, now that you can't have a baby shower for second child, so we really are done until. And it's been a fun excuse to reach out to. Oh, it makes you realize how many people helped you in your career. Going back to regional coaches at Waterville, not just the Preston family, but people that just volunteered on the weekends to come coach, and then people that traveled with me later on, and all the way up through, of course, the U.S. ski and snowboard team support that I had through my career too. So I was sending invites out to a strength and conditioning coach who now lives in Australia. Unlikely he'll come, but a very cool way to reminisce about your career and the people that helped you during it.
Well, the last time the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame event was here in the Northeast was at Stowe. And once again, we had incredible representation from the Northeast with the Egans, with Bernie Weichel, and so on. Once again, just a great, great time. And I'm so glad it's here in the Northeast for you. So Waterville, you perfected your trade there. They brought something to Waterville last year that, there hadn't been a World Cup event, and it wasn't in moguls. It was in, when Tomba and Zurbriggen were racing. What was it like to see Waterville host that World Cup event last year?
It was perfect. So fitting. I mean, it wasn't that long ago they installed the Birth of Freestyle sign on the access road. And so what better place to host a World Cup? I think one of the last times I competed there was in national championships when I was probably a freshman in high school. So I wasn't yet on the national team. But it might have been the last time my brother got to see me compete because he was a hockey player. So we were going different directions. Anyway, it's so fitting. And I'm hoping that, the crowds from Boston and the crowds I used to remember waiting in lift lines with when I was training there will come out and support these athletes, because my goodness, they put on a great show. And if we can get that number of spectators at Killington to watch the Racing World Cup, may I beg you to come try mogul skiing? It's more spectator friendly. You can, as far as from the fact that you can see the entire course from just standing at the bottom. They'll also let you just ski down the side, I think. I think the trail's open. You can just basically ski down the side and be 10 feet away from where they're hitting the kicker, doing their tricks. This year especially, it's a pre-Olympic year, so everyone is kind of ramping up the level of their skiing. And then one last pitch is that dual moguls, so where the athletes are going head to head down the course. And that would be if it's a Friday, Saturday, it's on the Saturday, or is it Saturday, Sunday? It's the second day, whichever day that is. We'll get the right information to the listeners, I'm sure. Dual moguls is so exciting, and for the very first time, it will be contested in the Olympics next season. So 2026, dual moguls is an Olympic event, and that's a whole different podcast. The hassle and the struggle that I participated in to try to help get dual moguls in, but success doesn't matter. There's another Olympic medal for freestyle skiing, and so come out and watch these athletes. I do not think that you'll be disappointed by their performances.
Yeah, that is January 26th and 27th, which is just around the corner. I mean, it's a month away.
I know.
That's scary. It's wild. Do you think this Waterville event is helping to drive a new breed of freestyle bump skiers in New England?
I certainly hope so. And I think if there was a theme from everything I've said today, one of them certainly is that seeing things, participating in them, you're like having a tangible aspect to what you want to achieve helps. And so if there can be a couple little kids in that audience watching these skiers from that up close and personal, I think that will absolutely help excite the next generation of skiers.
That's awesome.
How's the U.S. freestyle team looking this year? Considering the season's just gotten started a couple months ago, and how are they showing out for the first section of the season?
They're strong. So they're coming off a season where they won the Nations Cup, which means they had the best results of any team. That's men and women combined together, which is pretty cool. So better than Canada, better than Japan, which are two of the other really strong teams. Sweden has a really strong men's team, but not a strong women's team. So that being said, they're medal contenders every single time they step in the gate. The women's team specifically has never been stronger, I think, statistically. There are two previous gold medal winners, Jakara Anthony from Australia and Perrine Lafont from France. So they're now battling it out. And in the first two World Cups of the season, the Americans have finished third, fourth, fifth, right below them. But they're going to get fed up with that pretty quickly, and they're absolutely capable of taking those top spots on the podium. Dual moguls, Americans tend to be a little bit stronger. I think we're just reckless enough that we're willing to go ski on like just out of control or in control, whatever your perspective is there, and push these athletes out of the top athletes out of their comfort zone and take them down. So that's why dual moguls is so exciting. And then the men's team, Cole McDonald and Nick Page have both had success at Waterville Valley and been on World Cup podiums, which again is the same level as the Olympics, even though the Olympics have this extra pizzazz to them. These are the same athletes that will be competing in the Olympic Games. So I think the men's team has two other athletes, Landon Wendler and Dylan Marcellini, who have also landed on the World Cup podium only one time so far in their young careers. But of course, once you've got a taste of the podium, you know it's attainable, and those athletes will be looking for a top three finish when it comes to Waterville in January.
That's awesome. Hey, I've got a question for you. You live in Park City now. I really think one of the marquee mogul events in the world is right up the road, right up that canyon at Deer Valley.
Yes.
Okay. You didn't have a chance to do that event, right? Because it wasn't there?
No, I competed on that course 21 times.
Okay, well,
Cup, they've hosted the World Cup for so long that I did get a chance to compete.
Gotcha.
Fun, just backstory. It's kind of like how my career got a kickstart. I got a phone call when I was studying for an algebra exam my sophomore year of high school, and it was, hey, the Olympics are happening in Salt Lake City next month. Do you want to come forerun the women's mogul event? And of course, I burst into tears and didn't study for that exam and didn't do well, and then got an A-, and I was really upset about that. But more importantly, I got to come forerun on the champion course at Deer Valley. Forerunning just means I went down first. They gave me a score. I tested the timing. I wasn't actually competing, but it was a very cool experience. And then I got to watch the Olympics. I'd never even seen a World Cup. So watching the Olympics, I watched Shannon Barkey win a silver medal, and I watched Kari Traw win a gold. And I was like, these women are strong. They're fast. They're good at skiing. But I think I could do it. So I went home, February vacation at Waterville Valley, learned Heli X, so a 360 rotation with a cross of my skis, and then won Junior Worlds about a week later to qualify for the U.S. team. And then, as they say, the rest is history. So competing on this course means a lot to me for many reasons, that being one of the main ones.
Well, that's under the lights now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it must be a totally different experience at night.
It's magical. The visibility, surprisingly, if you're looking up at it, it looks like it's just pitch black everywhere else, and the lights are really low, create some shadows on the course. So one would think you can't see well. It actually creates a beautiful contrast. So if you're flipping upside down and the sky is completely black, but then the snow is white, that's actually great for being able to see, versus clouds and snow sometimes look a little too similar. So competing under the lights there truly was a magical experience, due in part because to the fact that thousands of people would come out and cheer us on. So probably more than any of my Olympic experiences, maybe not Vancouver. There are certainly more American fans in the audience. And even though I think mogul skiing is super cool, we don't get tons of spectators across the world. So to feel like a celebrity and to have people actually cheering for you, it adds pressure, but it elevates the whole experience and ideally your performance as well. So that's again why I would encourage everyone to come out to Waterville to cheer these athletes on, because they'll ski better if there are more people cheering for them.
Love it.
Hannah, you mentioned you were starting your young one on skis at 1.5.
I mean, 16 months, but who's counting?
Who's counting? Same thing.
How do you do that? And like, what do you said you didn't even remember how old you were. Do you remember like a sibling or anything like that when they started?
Not really, honestly. So living in Park City has its perks, even though I complain that I'm worried she's going to be soft and not a New Englander. So I throw her tiny ski boots and her skis in the stroller, and I walk down to the magic carpet at the base of Park City Mountain. And that's where we're teaching her. And what I have found is right now, at least, I'm going no equipment. She's going free. So we're letting her stand in her skis and just like push her 10 feet and run behind her until she skis into me. So we're not really turning and we're not really stopping, but we're not really using any tools yet either, because, you want her to get that feel of her skis on her feet. So we'll see how it's a low pressure situation. We're doing like 4 runs a day, but I will say that she's had 6 days of it on snow and I've had 0. So she's already logged a lot more. I mean, I've been on snow running with my boots on, but I have not had my skis on my feet yet this year. And she's already at day 6. So if you believe in the 10,000 hour rule, this is why it happens when you have insane parents who are professional skiers.
Just so you know, my son was just before he turned 2 in December. We were at Loon, and I still have a picture of me running up the hill and down the hill. Oh yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I'm not the first one to go about this, so tricks and tips will be taken, because the bending over. That was part of the reason I was like, I'm going to let her go on her own, because who wants to bend over and hold her up?
Hopefully you were smarter than I was, because I was running up and down the hill in plug boots. So I was an idiot. So are you going to be back for the 26th and 27th to join us for this event?
Unfortunately, and this is no, because I've been asked, and it's an honor to do the commentary for the CNBC show. So that means I'll be in my basement doing the commentary remote. I have not had any luck convincing them that I need to be at Waterville to do that. So they send you a voice kit out here, which is, kind of heartbreaking. And the same thing will happen for the Deer Valley World Cup. My mom attended in my absence last year, and it just sounded like the absolute best reunion of like everyone I grew up skiing with and all the coaches and everyone now with their children. And I was very nostalgic, but got to pay the bills.
Well, yeah, you do. But I'm gonna wave to the cameras for you, because I'll be up there with Wayne and Bernie and Dan Egan, and we're gonna all wave to you.
I appreciate that.
Sounds like a good time at T-bars.
It sounds like a good. And by the way, the training facility just for this, the training facility up on the high country lift, unbelievable. Yeah. Tim Smith, I rode on the lift with him yesterday. He hopped on next to me, and they've just done an incredible job with commitment to training.
That makes such a big difference. And we talk about like athletes being successful in New England. It takes the resorts helping that, because it's easy to think you need to fly to Colorado in November for training, and then maybe you have to move your whole family there because the training's better. And like when Waterville is willing to do that, it's become like a national, if not international, mecca for training. And that we know it's a lot of effort early season, cat work and grooming hours and snow blowing. So yeah, shout out to Waterville for that. That's incredible.
They're doing a great job. Well, Hannah, we want to thank you for coming on. This was awesome.
Really.
Just a great conversation.
Thank you much,
Thank you.
Hannah. It's great to go back down memory lane for you.
I appreciate it. It's always fun to reminisce about the past. Thank you.
All right. You have a great season. Get that little girl of yours out there and keep her skiing.
Thank you.
If you want to be inspired and informed on everything about the New England ski and outdoor scene, then you need to check out skijournal.com. Skijournal.com delivers daily content on breaking industry news, tips, gear, dining, travel, entertainment, as well as all archived episodes of the Emmy-nominated New England Ski Journal TV show and the Basecamp podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to New England Ski Journal, the longest-running regional ski magazine in the country. New England Ski Journal's award-winning writers and photographers bring all 4 seasons to your door with best-in-class coverage on skiing and the outdoors. Log on to skijournal.com and click on the subscribe button to get New England Ski Journal mailed to you today. New England Ski Journal is a Siemens Media publication. Siemens Media. Inspiring. Informative. Insightful.
January 26th and 27th, 2025, Waterville Valley.
Disappointing, though, that she's going to be remote.
Yeah, I'm sort of bummed there.
You know, like she can bring a lot to the table by being on site, and obviously for her, it would mean so much to be on site.
Do you know? Last year at this time, David, our producer, and hi David.
Hey, what's up?
Wake up!
I was doing everything remote with a brand new knee, was I not, David?
Yes, a little bit of hitch in your giddy up, but no one can stop the machine that is Mike Specian.
Well, I
Didn't miss a beat.
I just couldn't. I couldn't. Had to get up on occasions because it was stiffening up. Mm-hmm. But she's going to be remote. But Wayne Wong's going to be there. I mean, Dan Egan's going to be there.
It's a who's who of freestyle.
It's a who's who. I really, the one thing I meant to ask Hannah, when you look at these freestyle skiers like Johnny Mosley.
Oh,
yeah, scratch that. Scratch that one.
If Tommy Moe can do,
Yeah, well,
that would be pretty good.
When you look at all the freestyle skiers that have come out of the U.S., like Johnny Mosley, or even the alpine skiers, how many have gone to big mountain skiing? I wanted to ask her if she ever thought about making that move. I mean, you look at Mike Hattrup, who was truly a world-class mogul skier, who we've had on this podcast. But he went big mountain. That's one thing, next time I see Hannah or talk to Hannah, I'd like to know if she ever made that thought, because big mountain was the draw.
I got nothing.
You got nothing.
I got nothing.
You got nothing. But you know what I mean?
Yes. No, like just a way to take it easy on the knees, but still stay in the game.
We'll stay in the game, but I think what's amazing with Hannah, first off, she took over an Ingemar Stenmark number. I mean, 16 in a row. I just, look, the Celtics have problems doing that.
Getting to 2 is hard in the NBA and stuff like that. But,
Right, but 16.
Yeah.
But that's huge. But then to make it to 3 Olympics, but I think what's even more astonishing is 4 overalls World Cup.
Especially the way she described it, where she's going, it's not like an alpine where you're going against a lot of the same people in the same result, in the same events. You're, like she said, snowcross was one, and the different disciplines.
Yeah.
You're never seeing some of those people, and it's how they do against their group of of competitors. But yeah, to be the best overall means a lot.
So She mentioned something. She said she was also into ballet. How much do you know about ballet skiing?
0.
Oh, my goodness. And Eric Wilbur and I had this talk. I still think we need to do this podcast. I'm going to grab somebody, and we're going to do a ballet skiing podcast. I've been on Olin ballets. I've been in Scott boots.
Okay.
I've been in Spademan bindings because I'm that old. And ballet is friggin', it was so cool in the 80s.
I was going to say, I remember the ice,
70s.
the snow dancing at Albertville. I remember watching that. But no, I've never tried it. And she said she didn't have rhythm. She's got more rhythm than me. I can guarantee you that.
Well, I think I'm going to go get Susie Chafee, and we're going to do a ballet podcast. And I just think it would be so much fun.
She's another, but like Hannah just said, she's another one who multi-sport.
Yep.
Didn't burn herself out by just being ski. Did it all growing up. Built all the muscles. Why that's probably has a lot to do with why she never got hurt, which means you're able to win, events after event after event, and you get to Stenmark records like that. But yeah, the whole ballet thing and aspect of it is wild. And to think she's half hour from Killington, in Norwich at the time. And she trekked an hour and a half over to Waterville instead because of the ballet program.
Well, yeah, because they were multidisciplined, and I applaud that. Well, we want to thank Hannah again for coming on, and we want to invite everybody up to Waterville on the 26th and 27th of January. I will be on the hill. Come join us. It's going to be a good time. And that's going to be it for this version of the Basecamp podcast.
Have a good one. See you on the hill.
New England Ski Journal's Basecamp is a Siemens Media podcast. Siemens Media. Inspiring, informative, insightful.